Alright, so here we are. Again, anytime you want to put contrast in, it's much easier to go in and define that and then tone it back. Oops. The lighting here in Mudbox is great. You can see how it's starting to tear quite a bit. So that's what I'm talking about. If you get your polygons just too nuts in these areas, sometimes you're going to have to do a lot more work to get detail in those areas now. Because this originated from a ball. And those rips right there, if you want to use this type of geometry all the way through, will have rips in your normal map too. So I'm going to go back to my other sculpt brush here and just kind of sculpt a little and hold shift to tone it back and just kind of fill in these. This is something it's just too small for the wax brush. So I'm just adding smoothing. Okay. Now that I got some kind of layers, I can think about using the wax brush a little bit more. Again, I'll bulk these out, then scrape them back. Now, again, I record all this stuff, but I don't expect anybody to watch all of it. I do have students who watch all of it. It's weird, but I would say, again, watch what I'm doing as far as tools are concerned, not what I'm doing as far as like every movement is concerned. Okay, so now I can scrape these back and get that happy medium I'm looking for. A good blend between the teeth and the gum line. And then I'll go back to the sculpt brush, kind of look at how the teeth kind of go into the overall mouth. Define that. Again, the lighting and me forgetting to hit the control. And a little pinchage. Now, the intention here also, if you don't know, is I want to 3D print this eventually. And if you're not too familiar with the process, I can't have too thin of wall. So in the past, if you made a skull and you had thin teeth, the 3D process or 3D print process on my printer at least, it didn't like that. So these are going to be a little bit thicker than normal. So when you're not looking, usually I'm designing things to 3D print more than in-game type of stuff right nowadays anyway. I find that I put a lot more detail in my work, but I make it a lot more contrasty detail, because really that's the stuff that really picks up when you 3D print it. So that's the only difference. I take you through the normal map stage and the retopologizing stage and the in-game phase, but what I'm really up for is a nice printable design. Okay, so there we go, and now I can just kind of define this stuff. Looking for scrape. Now if I lower this down to right about here, all that detail is still in there. And if you were going to go for more maybe non-printable realism, you could take all this and just push it in. Just like that. And that's bare minimum I want to go with it. I'll let you guys explore that. And then it pushes all the teeth in, see, just like that. But it keeps all the detail. And you've got to be careful, because look at the move tool, what it's really doing here. It's like ripping apart the mesh. So that's telling me that I could never use the move tool at that level, because my polygon structure isn't really supporting it now. I've gone past the point of having topology that's useful in that area. I can see a lot of that has damaged the teeth and on the side view, so I have to kind of account for that and change it. This is where you can get a little dirty too, you know, like, you know, this, think about the skull and the ground. You can start getting into the idea that the skull's been around a while and missing a tooth, or I find if you make a really nice one at first, you can always make variations of it. But it's real hard to take the variations and make a perfect one. And trust me when I say that there are a lot of times where you're going to need a skull. Let's say just making a character and you got like this weird belt thing and you want skulls dangling off of it. If you have some kind of detail in a dungeon level and you're like, well, I want some skulls on the floor, you know, the skull really is a useful mesh to make for ornamental design. Okay, again, lowering it down, straightening it out. It's a lot better than trying to get that. And this other side, I haven't lost a whole lot of topology. Okay, sharpening these up a little bit. If I get too zoomed in, I hit F on the keyboard. That'll zoom me back out. Okay, so there's my base, and now I just kind of concentrate on form. Lower that down. Lower it still further. So push this more up. And go back up. There we go. And if you don't like that, you can just back it down again, make some changes, and go back. And it's nice to be able to stylize it with the lowest level. So having that around is really helpful. Not getting it too away from the original concept, like keeping the topology to the point where it's like got uniform spacing on all the. You could look in here. I have like these are all very squared off polygons still. So that allows me to make changes like that because I've took my time to go up in levels. Alright, so there's kind of the rough concept of teeth and I'll continue to add more detail in the next video.